Why does a plastic surgeon from New Jersey keep returning to a war-torn region?
Because I can and because I have skills that are needed. It's a blessing to be able to do what you can and have the experience to be able to not just help people, but I have experience with war injuries, with trauma and reconstruction. I think, like anything else, experience helps. So there's a lot of, you know, need all over the world. Here in the U.S., we're blessed to have resources, doctors, hospitals, you know, places that like Gaza don't have any of that. Right? They have very few doctors, very few resources, an overwhelming amount of trauma. It's all our obligation.
How many trips have you made to Gaza since the war began?
I just came back from my second trip a month ago. The first time last year in May.
The first time it was during when they attacked Rafah, correct?
Yeah, so I went in there on May 1st and they attacked Rafah. I think it was on the 6th of May, so I was there for just less than a week when they seized the crossing and intensified bombing. So they were bombing it even before that. As we were crossing, it was getting bombed, but it wasn't, as intense. Once the formal campaign started, then they started basically carpet bombing. That's their precision um, and targeting all over Gaza is when they focus on an area, they just level it.
You were trapped there, correct? During that assault? Tell
Yes.
me about what happened there and what you saw during that attack.
So people coming into the emergency room in the hospital day and night, mostly families, and families mostly consisting of children. That's just the population of Gaza. More than half of the population are children. Everyone is clustered together. I mean, they're all refugees. That point, everyone had been moved from the north and central Gaza into Rafah. And then they were quickly told to leave and go to, another area in Mawasi, which was also a place that was targeted and bombed, despite it's supposed to be a safe zone. And when you bomb indiscriminately in areas with such high density of population, you are going to get many, many people that are coming in casualties, fighters and soldiers. They're just families that are just trying to survive.
How long did it take for you all to finally be allowed to leave?
About
2 weeks. But you were originally allowed to leave first, correct? But
So
you decided
what
to stay.
happened
What
is,
happened there?
yeah. What happened is when they closed off the Rafah crossing, that was our designated exit. So no one enters or leaves Gaza without a clear plan that's been coordinated with the Israelis. Their Kogat arm of the IDF, which is the coordinating body. So everyone on the team is listed. They're approved. They know the route that we're going to for the vehicles. They are being observed by drones during the entire process, and they know the exit date. So we knew exactly who is going to be leaving. By name where the exit was going to be and down to the time. And so we were supposed to exit like we came into Rafah. When that was closed, there was no alternative given. And so that was when we were, told that we cannot safely leave the hospitals with any route. And so we were working, basically, I was in contact with my representatives here in the United States. We were talking to the media, obviously. And the U.S. was able to arrange with Israel for all the U.S. citizens to exit. And we had a multinational team. We had U.S. citizens, we had U.S. permanent residents, green
Gotcha.
card holders, and we also had, other, nationalities. We had Irish, Australian, Jordanian, um, Omani. So we had multiple other nationalities that were not allowed to leave, including the U.S. permanent residents. So, I mean, I had someone on my team who had been working in the Midwest for 12 years, helping his community as a general surgeon. And because he was not a U.S. citizen, but a green card holder, he was not allowed to leave.
Gotcha.
So I and two other of my colleagues felt that it was not right to leave them behind because that would decrease their likelihood to be able to leave in that area.
Gotcha. Okay. So what were conditions like at that time? I know that you were there last month during the ceasefire that doesn't really exist anymore. I'm just curious as to how the two different times compared for you.
There was it was tough. There was work was constant. There was patients rolling in, day and night. We were also limited in what we could have to work with. So we had a very limited amount of medications that mostly we were able to bring in with our team at that time, because we crossed Europa, was able to bring medical supplies. Working with what we had carried, which is still limited. We also had very poor conditions. I mean, we didn't expect to arrive and, for example, not have like simple things like soap and sheets and gowns. So, we were reusing many of the like disposable medical supplies that, were present, like breathing tubes and sheets and things that normally get thrown away after everything. And then we also had a limited amount of food and water. We had brought in bottled water with us for our team, and that ran out. There was really no water purification available at that time. And
So what happened? What did you do when the water
we
ran out?
started rationing our water.
Okay.
We're limited to a small bottle a day until like things got a little bit better. And can do it. I mean, a lot of you just drink what you have. And the same thing with food. I mean, there was limited food, mostly starches and things that are baked from flour and bread, and very little vegetables, and really no meat that was available for that period of time. That changed right before I left. Rather than sending aid, we started sending commercial trucks the weekend before I left. So all of a sudden, one day the markets were filled with eggs and oranges and vegetables, but no one could afford it. Our team could. We were able to resupply and feed some of the people around us, but these were not aid trucks that were coming in. These were commercial trucks from Israel selling in this war economy to people who really couldn't afford it. And wow.
How, if at all, did things change when they cut off aid to USAID? Did that affect conditions there?
So that happened just recently in second trip, and
Right.
the results were immediate. Within 24 hours, many of the organizations, like I was in contact with one of the doctors that worked with IMC, the International Medical Corps, I think it stands for. And he was, not just him, but like him and all the staff members were, relieved of duty and laid off within 24 hours, because their major funder, which was the WHO, which is funded by USA, had discontinued it. So the results were within one day that had an impact. And they provide a significant amount of medical care in central Gaza. I mean, they have a field hospital there. There's other organizations also that are relying on US aid. It decreases.
This is a big deal.
Yeah. The infrastructure is already in tatters, and just underlying it even more.
What's left in Gaza? I mean, do the people that you treated want to stay there? Can they stay there?
What's left in Gaza is the people. That is what, because everything else is in Israel. There's no buildings, there's no schools. Even the hospitals have all taken damage, and all of them at some point have been raided, and the equipment have been destroyed. So what's left in Gaza is the people. And in general, yes, most of the people still want to stay. There are a few that want to leave, but you talk to eight out of 10 want to stay, and they say that this is our home, and wherever we go, we're going to be in the worst condition than we are. Here, at least, this is our land, this is our life. We're gonna leave to go someplace that isn't ours, and we have no rights. We're just like, no, they're not ready to give up their land. And that should be their right and their priority to be able to. It shouldn't be for us to tell them to go anywhere where they've lived all their lives, and their parents' lives, and their ancestors' lives. So that is what's left of Gaza. Gaza.
Do you plan to go back, especially now that the fighting has started again, or the bombing has started again?
Yes, I do want to go back. Um, Unfortunately, there's a limitation, even now. So, even after the ceasefire was in place, there was uh, higher scrutiny and less physicians and healthcare workers allowed to enter after the ceasefire than before. We were turning back more and more doctors and nurses. And since the ceasefire has completely been shattered and destroyed, several teams now have been turned back and have not been allowed to enter. And some of the teams inside are now not been able to leave, even though it's only been 3 days. So,
Right.
as of, just 3 or 4 days ago, uh, there haven't been anybody able to enter. So I wish I can. I would plan to go sometime later this year, and I will try. But
Good. Yeah. I actually spoke to a doctor who's there yesterday, and he was saying that they're desperately in need of surgeons. What's the process for trying to get in? I mean, I don't want to get too wonky, but do
yeah,
you know
so
like how you could try to
right.
get back?
So you find an organization that's going, and there's multiple that are going. You get on their team, they take your information and they send it
Gotcha.
to the UN or Israel, or it ends up going to Kogat. And then the night before, so you really have to fly to Jordan, because the night before at about 8 to 10 p.m., they tell you who was approved to enter from that list. So you have to be ready to enter within a few hours. You can't like wait here at home and see. So you're really flying to Jordan, and like the last team that I heard of, like half the people were denied. So they end up basically just on their expense have to fly back. And then the team that's approved then has to go to the border, and they have to be allowed to enter. So the team that was supposed to enter today, like early this morning, wasn't like I'm going to describe the team that just went through the process. They
Mm-hmm.
had 20 people, 9 were not approved last night. The remaining 11 went this morning and were all turned back and not allowed to
Oh my
enter,
God.
told to try to enter again in a few days. So it's a process. And then once you enter, you're basically escorted under police escort to Gaza, uh, the current Shalom gate, and then enter to there.
Do they ever give a reason for when they turn the doctors back? It's just
No,
no.
no. And we try to determine what their criteria is, and it really appears to be completely random. It seems to be completely, I mean, you might as well draw a name out of a hat and figure out who's going to go in.
Wow. Are you when you go? Are you able to bring supplies in with you, like beyond medical supplies, like extra food or extra things for the people?
I wish we could even take medical supplies.
Okay.
Like when we went through Rafah, because we were crossing with the Egyptians and Palestinians, we took lots of medical supplies. I mean, I had 15 suitcases of medical equipment, medicine, everything that I need to perform, the surgeries that I needed to do. And this last trip, even during the ceasefire, we were not. You're only allowed to take personal items. Any extra food, any extra medicine, extra Tylenol that looks like you got an extra few bottles from Costco is not allowed, because that is considered that it's not a personal item. And so they're even like, if you carry too many power bars, he's like, well, this is not all for you. You're not allowed to take that.
Again, without any kind of explanation. Wow. Okay.
Their
Um.
criteria is personal items.
Right.
Too
So,
many, too many iPhones that can't have that.
what kind of casualties have you seen? Like, how I know that there are a lot of children who've lost families, parents. Just describe to me some of the personal experiences you've had in trying to care for people there.
So let me tell you about some of the children that I've seen, and they are mostly children. A 3-year-old boy who came in with the rest of his family that had survived the blast. Okay, so his parents were both killed. His sister was also brought in, who was 11 years old. He had a inhalation lung injury from the blast because of the pressure and the temperature. He had a lacerated liver. He had shrapnel in his abdomen, and he had burns over 60% of his body, and he died in the emergency room. His sister was 11 years old, had her entire back and butt and the back of her thigh shredded. She had an open skull fracture. She had an open leg fracture. Um, Another day, I had another boy who came with his face was just like shredded. It looks like he got attacked by a tiger. It was just like splayed apart. He had a lung spleen injury. He had a traumatic amputation where his left hand was blown off, and he had burns. And when we talk about burns, and these are burns that are covering circumferentially like most of the body. And for him, it was about 70%. He survived a few days in the ICU, and a few surgeries before he succumbed to his injuries. I had another boy who was about 10 years old. Everyone in his family he was peppered with shrapnel that covered his face and his chest. He lost vision in both of his eyes because the shrapnel basically melted one eye and he had, pieces into the other. He had a fragment that entered his brain, even though he was still awake and talking. The neurosurgeon said it's in such a delicate location that, they couldn't go safely remove it. And so they had to watch it and make sure things get infected. So this is a boy, like I said, 10 years or so, can't see, has lost his entire family, and living in this world that's like a hell, that's in Gaza right now. And this is every single day. We're seeing, not just one or two children like this, whole families. Like, I saw two parents came in when their tent got blown apart, and they lost four children that were killed. The father and the mother both had mangled like legs and severe burns over their body. And they both died in the ICU, they say. They died in the ICU because of the severity of their injuries. We don't have antibiotics. We don't have staff to take care of them. And so these are, for many of them, survivable injuries anywhere else in the world, but we cannot take them.
So what happens after you patch up these incredibly awful injuries? And if they have to move again, how does that work? It sounds like it's not very easy to move if you're recovering from injuries like being burned all over your body. So what happens then?
It's not. And it's not like there's wheelchairs that are abundantly available. The ambulances are targets themselves, right? Many of them, I could show you just pictures that I have on my phone of all the ambulances that I saw on the roadside that have been targeted and struck. So people carry each other. And they use anything they have. They put people on wheelbarrows. They put people on stretchers. And, you're asking how they move. They've had to do this multiple times because the hospitals are targets. I mean, we just have to go through the last few months and you can see how many hospitals have been forced to evacuate, and patients have to move miles, in these conditions, and their families are the ones moving it, and the staff members, helping each other, move from one location to the other. There's no roads in Gaza right now. I mean, the roads have been deliberately depaved. When they destroy a city, after they destroy it with the bombs, they come in with bulldozers and rip apart the pavement so that you can't easily walk or drive anywhere. These are basically dirt roads everywhere at this point. And the vehicles that are still intact can't be driven because no one could afford the gas. My friend, the doctor in there right now, told me yesterday the price of gas is $90 a liter. So $90 is something like around $200 a gallon.
Right.
And when I was there a month ago, it was about $100 a gallon. So still also unaffordable.
How are they getting by?
They get by because of their spirit, their faith. We go there to help them, and many of us come back being more affected by what we've learned from them and the other way around. We're only able to do so much with all the limitations that are placed on us. But they continue to stand up. They come to work, they smile, and they take everything with the understanding that this is just a material world that does what they can for themselves and the people around them with what they have, and they accept that.
Do you have any kind of message for the international community or the U.S. government or both?
We have a message. I mean, it's a shame. We are witnessing a horrific, act, this genocide that's unfolding before our own eyes, and on our TV screens, we have hundreds of witnesses that have gone and come back now and have gone again and are relaying all the same thing. And we talk about historically, we talk about the Holocaust and how we would never do it again. We talk all about crimes that happened in the past, and we say, what would we have done had we lived during those times? We are living during these times right now, and every one of us. So step up, everyone.
Good place to end. Thank you very much for your time. I very much appreciate it. And Godspeed to you if you go back. I'm sure they need you.
Thank you very much.
Take care.